What's going on, everyone? Today I have the second part of this carnivore theory series. So I just want to talk a little bit more about how the carnivore diet works and some myths associated with everything else nutrition. So today I want to talk about why we don't need fiber, and that's why the carnivore diet is obviously a no fiber diet, and you're still able to be healthy and poop just fine. I want to talk about why meat, especially red meat, is so demonized, and then go into the effects of cholesterol and or how it kind of changes with the carnivore diet, and that it shouldn't necessarily be demonized. And this video is going to be over top of my one-handed rope training. So I created this rope when I was out tree planting, and I had a little bit of extra rope from making, if you see my Instagram, doing some rope rolling. So it's like skipping rope without jumping the rope. So it's just a fun, flowy little thing. So I made just a little chunk of a rope, and it's actually been like way more fun to me than the two-handed ropes. It forces me to be more connected through the feet, and because like when you're doing a two-handed rope, you're kind of forced to be in a direction like north, south, east, west when you're rolling, so the rope's always going the same way. Whereas this one-hand rope, it's a little bit more crazy and freestyle, so you have to really pay attention, otherwise you could get chopped in the face or the leg or anything. So I call the rope the numb chunk because it could make you numb or take a chunk out of you. So just the progress from my first day when I made it to, I think it was a few weeks ago, when we first got our first snowfall. So enjoy this video. I'll see you on the next one. So the other argument that people like to bring up a lot is, oh, you're not eating any fiber. How are you able to have bowel movements? How are you able to poop? And we don't actually need fiber in order to have bowel movements, because fiber is just a plant nutrient that we can't actually use. So it's not a nutrient to us. It's not something that we can actually digest and actually has a purpose. So it's just something that we kind of need if we are eating all these other plant toxins, or whatever you want to call them, possibly carbohydrates as well. It's not something that we actually need to digest food. And there are animal fibers and or similar type of compounds in animal products that will help us do the same thing that we think fiber does. And fiber hasn't actually been shown to prevent any sort of cancers, like any colon cancers or anything like that. All it really does is increase stool frequency. So if you're having whatever digestive issues and you're like, oh, I need to eat more fiber, it's not going to make it less painful. It's not going to help solve the issue. It's just going to get you to let your bowels loose a little bit more often, which doesn't actually solve the problem. It's just like another kind of band-aid or like medicine to it, It's like, oh, here, take this drug. It's like, here, eat fiber and then everything will be solved. But looking at all the studies of like Crohn's and irritable bowel disease, they actually improved when people stopped eating fiber. So I'm not saying like fiber is the cause of it, but it's not helping. It's a plant nutrient that there's no nutritional value for it. So why would we even bother taking it in if we can get the same or similar functioning molecule from animal foods? So that was something that's really, really important to try and get through, because it's not needed to have fiber, and my poops have been better than they ever have since on the diet. So fiber is not a necessary thing. It just doesn't make sense that we would need to eat something that we have no value for and doesn't actually give us anything. Another point on the use of epidemiological studies, that because meat has been demonized as this horrible thing that causes cancer and is really unhealthy, the people who decided that, the group of 12 people, they found 800 studies about like meat and colon cancer and all these other diseases, and they only ended up picking 14 of them, and they were all observational studies, and they decided to not take the interventional studies for whatever reason, whatever exclusion criteria they chose. And so those 14 studies all had a correlative effect that meat caused colon cancer. But they were all, like I said before, they were all just observational, and they were not somebody actually giving a treatment and having a control. And so these studies were all skewed by that unhealthy user bias. And like, because of that group of people, whoever it was, or whatever foundation they were being funded by, or however you want to spin it, they're the reason that we think that meat is bad, even though it's the most nutritionally dense foods on the planet, and it is exactly what we have evolved to live on. So these studies just aren't perfect, and that's really important to understand. Like, it's so hard to get people to have a perfect study and control somebody's life and make them eat one food versus another. It's not possible. So it's so hard to say exactly what is right and what is wrong. And that's one reason why I wanted to try this diet, is because it seems so outrageous and against everything we ever know, but at the same time it does make sense if you look back and you look at our lives through an evolutionary lens of like, what foods did we want to chase down and eat? And most of our foods would have come from animals, I would assume, and then whatever else we could find we would eat, like plant-wise. So yeah, meat has been falsely demonized because of poorly done studies that hold no bearing on actual life. So don't be afraid to try it. Eat only meat. Obviously, I'm not a nutritionist, but it just doesn't make sense to demonize meat and to see plants as this hero that we paint it as. All right, I want to talk about one more thing. Talk about cholesterol real quick. See what I can pull out of here, and then that should be good for whatever this video. Maybe this is 2 videos. I don't know how long this will be. But when we're looking at the studies done on cholesterol, or like the societal perspectives of cholesterol, we see LDL as like the low density lipoproteins as the dangerous or the bad cholesterol, and we should avoid it, and it's just straight up demonized. But like anything else in these studies that are, correlation versus causation, they're all correlative, and they're always missing some other factor that's going on. So LDL actually has an immune response system in it. So if something has inflammation, their body's gonna send LDL to the area to help heal it and reduce that inflammation, clear some of that blockage or whatever. So if we're talking about atherosclerosis, however you say it, we deem LDL as the plaque forming substance, when really there's inflammation in the arterial walls, and LDL is being sent to it to help clear it out. And then the substance that's there beforehand is what helps, like, bonds to LDL and gets LDL to stay. So now it's being demonized as this problem, when really it's just like a firefighter at a scene. So it's like, it's not the one that started the fire. The fire was there from all these other factors. And one of the reasons we know this is that, like, LDL it's equally present in the arteries and the veins. So if this was really LDL's fault, and that because LDLs are high, we should be seeing this atherosclerosis in the arteries, as well as, or this plaque buildup in the arteries as well as the veins, which we don't. So there's something else going on there. It's not just the problem with the LDL. It's all the unhealthy stuff that we're doing, like having these poor eating habits, from eating all these carbohydrates or eating all these other toxins, and then not having them be able to be cleared. And LDL is just trying to save the day, and it's getting falsely demonized. So cholesterol is often very healthy and is the precursor to most of the steroids that our body naturally creates anyway. And like, one of the main problems is that is if we have low HDL, so all the high density lipoproteins. If that is also low, then having high LDL will become a problem. So, as like the only or LDL's only issue in being high is if LDL is low. So it's like you need to make sure you have that balance in order for it to be effective and healthy, because these cholesterols are actually really important molecules in our body. Another point on cholesterol is that the amount of cholesterol in our blood is not related to the amount of cholesterol that we eat. So just because you eat a lot of, let's say, eggs doesn't mean that your cholesterol is going to go up. There are many other factors that are involved. And your LDL is actually increased when you fast. So it's not something that is actually dangerous, because fasting is a very normal part of human evolution. So why would we have a higher LDL and that be considered bad, even though it is there for times of survival to help us create ketones and make us run on these not necessarily emergency services, but these energy systems that are set in place for us to go when we do not have immediate food available. All right, I hope you got something out of that and hopefully learned something new about what the carnivore's diet is like and why it could be effective and potentially beneficial long term, or beneficial and sustainable. I am not an expert on any of this, which is one reason why I'm doing it. I'm just kind of going through and seeing what's up. So there are plenty of other resources out there that I would highly recommend checking out. I'm just one stop along the way. I'm still learning. I still want to learn more about it. And diet's never really been a mental effort of mine. Never really cared too much about food. So this has been very new to me. But it's definitely been a fun experiment. I'm going to keep trying to do the carnivore diet and making tweaks to it. And it's been really enjoyable. So go look up your own information if you want to try it. Please do. Let me know how it goes. All right. Peace.